Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today's edition of Ask an Airstreamer is all about staying organized in your Airstream. Whether you're brand new to Airstreaming, waiting for years to come, or even a seasoned pro, we hope that by the end of today's session, you'll have the tools to stay better organized in any small space. Before introducing our panelists today, I want to take a moment and introduce myself. My name is Chris, and in addition to being an Airstream owner myself, I get to work with Airstream's brand ambassadors, helping to share their stories of adventure, curiosity, and exploration in their Airstream. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's session is being recorded and will be published on airstream.com next week, alongside other editions of Ask an Airstreamer. In other words, don't worry about writing everything down. You'll receive an email to this video later next week. To submit your questions at any point today, go ahead and click the Q&A button at the bottom of this screen. We'll do our best to answer all of them, but if we run out of time, we'll share an email address at the end to submit your questions. After Q&A, we'll share a promo code for Airstream Supply Company, which is part magazine, part travel guide, and part outfitter. And lastly, there's a 2-question survey that will be emailed right after we wrap up today. We love your feedback so we can learn what you liked and things that we can do better in future editions. Let's take a look at what we're going to cover. First, we'll learn about Traci and Chris and their unique backgrounds that make them uniquely suited to share their knowledge in this space. We'll cover the best practices on how to professionally organize your Airstream. We'll do an overview of some storage solutions, and we'll talk about sometimes an often overlooked component to all this is, for those of you with travel trailers, using your tow vehicle and optimizing some storage space there. So Traci and Chris, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are today.
Hey, thanks for having us. We are sitting in Asheville, North Carolina right now. We have a 2020 Globetrotter 30-foot rear bed twin. And I'm a mother of 2 girls and 2 dogs, and wife and partner to Chris. We've been Airstreaming now for about 4 years. It's a very big part of our lives. We spend 1/3 of the year on the road, and we're still both working. We both own our own businesses. So my business is called Spatial Solutions Unlimited. I'm a professional organizer, and I work with both homeowners and RV owners to either fully outfit, as we're talking about RVs, an RV when somebody might have bought a used or new one, or I serve as a consultant to people virtually to help them get their RVs set up. So I've had a 2-year relationship working with Airstream. Chris and I are both brand ambassadors. And the project that I focused on with Airstream is to answer storage solutions for the interior. So I'll let Chris explain about the exterior.
Yes, thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you, Chris, for having us. One of the slides there shows Traci and I on the adventure motorcycle. And I think 2016, we took a 2,000-mile trip out in British Columbia. And I have been dying to RV for quite some time. But Traci is not, or has not been of the, let's go get in a tent or a hammock. She wanted something a little more solid. So we went from 3 small aluminum boxes on a 2-week, 2,000-mile journey to the silver tube that we're in today, or got started in it. And man, I thought if we could do this for a year and just kind of get our feet wet, how much fun would that be? If we like it, we'll keep doing it. If we don't like it, we'll move on. And man, I had no idea that Traci went all in right out of the gate. So yeah, this is something that the motorcycle is getting ridden very a lot less, and the RV is getting used quite a bit. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
I love the combination of solving for probably the most difficult type of travel organization, those 3 panniers on the side of the bike, combined with Traci's knowledge of kind of doing this at scale. So excited to share some knowledge on how to give folks the tools to do this. So Airstream has fundamentally, part of the Airstream experience is being able to take the comforts of home with you. So all the things that go in the living room and the bedroom and the bathroom and the kitchen, that's what we're really going to focus on, is how to optimize those spaces so everything has a place. But one quick call out here is that this is just one approach and one way to do this. I think, the few hundred people who have joined us today also have some great knowledge and experience. So would encourage folks to use the chat function that's part of Zoom here to share any tips or tricks or products that they've learned that work well along the way. So Traci, get us started. Talk to us a little bit about some of the fundamentals on how we should approach organizing an Airstream.
Well, the main thing here is knowing your measurements is going to allow you to outfit an entire space fully. And I think that is what is important. Before you know what's going to go into the space, make sure that you find a solution from left to right, front to back, whether or not you fill the bins so that they are full. And that's I think my biggest takeaway. And
one of the things that a lot of folks fall in love with an Airstream is the iconic design. Part of that iconic design is these curved roof lines, which makes storage or finding the right storage solutions a little bit difficult at times. So we're going to talk about ways to measure and things along the way, but not a big surprise that storage solutions, even for folks who are waiting for a delivery of their Airstream or just taking delivery, is a commonly requested thing. So tell us a little bit about how we got here.
Well, that is one of the most requested things that Airstream has been asked for years and years. So, there are, because of all the models in the line, there are not a broad, vast collection of variables that are the same. But for most roof lockers, it's probably the easiest thing for me to talk about. Some people have drawers, some people don't have drawers. So again, the roof locker, because it follows the curve of the Airstream, you do have to think about putting items that aren't so tall in the back and items that are taller in the front to accommodate for the curve. And again, this has been a topic with Airstreamers, and there are so many great ideas in forums and Facebook groups. So, this is not the end all be all, but we are trying to find for most owners at least some combinations of solutions here that will work.
And the next slide shows a video, and it's unique when you start to look at storage solutions for a vehicle that's in motion. And a lot of folks maybe don't realize, but how much the trailer moves, especially a trailer. And by the way, everything that we're talking about today applies broadly to travel trailers and touring coaches. But there's so much movement, and there's a theme that will start to evolve in today's discussion, and that's really kind of packing all of the space. So I'll let you speak to the slide a little bit, and we'll dig more into that soon.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing, people, you tow your Airstream and then you get there and you might walk in and there's some disaster in the floor or a bin has come open. I think the best way to prevent accidents, aside from number one, is storing things that don't weigh as much down low, or that weigh the most rather down low. Especially any glass containers of alcohol or water or drinks of any sort need to be low. But the other thing too is to keep things from hitting the doors and pushing them, ajar while you're traveling, is that the bins are inside and that they fit sort of like a Tetris puzzle, so that you can then insert the items that you use most.
There's actually lost my train of thought here, so I'll just go to the next slide and pick it back up as soon as I get it. So this talks about some solutions that are available today. Not only did we want to give the tools to measure and also find your own storage solutions, but also try to make it easier with things that automatically have been vetted and fit. So tell us a little bit about what's available at Airstream Supply Company today.
Yeah, and I think you just used a key word, vetted. Is, I didn't come at this not realizing what it takes to live in an Airstream. So with the experience and knowledge that I've gained over these 4 years, I went to vendors to partner with Airstream and to create a curated collection of items that somewhat look uniform but have different measurements, and they are sold on Airstream Supply Company mainly in bundles, but you can also pick a la carte items. If you bought a bundle that did not fit your entire space, then you can add to that as you go.
Awesome. And I picked up my thought that I left on the last slide.
Yeah.
It's really around movement within the vehicle. So things on the floor, heavier items on the floor. I've also found, and it reminds me of riding the school bus as a kid, sitting in the back of the school bus was always the bounciest. So behind the axle is where you get so much movement in a travel trailer, especially some of the longer ones. I don't know if you've had that experience too, or I've actually been able to like place items on the bed because I have a front bedroom on mine, and it doesn't really move much because it's in front of the axles. Same experience in what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, we keep our lounge and our gaucho extended, and we do set items, and because we have a rear bed, so we set items closer to the hitch, even on the sofa that don't move. So, and the kitchen and galley is usually central and not on the rear. So I do think that does help.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's give some folks some common terms and vocabulary when we start to talk about how to measure, which is on the next slide. Walk us through what we see on this one.
Yeah. So you're looking at a flying cloud here, and the doors. So this has lift up doors. So you're dealing with, in roof lockers, you've got both sliding doors and lift up doors. But this slide is just showing you what I call width, length, and height. And, of course, you lift open the door and that's the measurement that you take. I will say that a lot of roof lockers, and we'll get to a slide on that in a minute, have a central support system. In that regard, I measure this side and then this side, so that you're really looking at two separate parts to outfit.
Awesome. And some questions that are just coming in on the chat. This first one is around a bike storage solution. I know that our focus today is really on the interior. Airstream has partnered with Fiamma. I'm probably saying that incorrectly, but Fiamma, especially designed to fit on the back of an Airstream pretty easily. So that's one answer. Randall, though, wants to know if you've come across, Randall says, I have a 2021 International 23. I don't want to use the hangers in the larger closet and wondered if there's a hanging compartment to hang from the closet bar. Have you found anything that works?
Well, you can convert a hanging shoe bag, the more narrow kind, not a sweater bag, and then just cut the bottom pieces off that extend beyond the height that you need.
Right.
So those do come in handy. You can roll towels and store them in there. You can put toilet tissue, paper towels, any of that will fit in those.
Okay, great. Good tip. All right. Walk us through what we're doing.
I want to demonstrate how to measure your roof locker. There's a curve on them, so you do have to allow for that. So for example, my front to back here in this is 15 inches. The height on most roof lockers is about 8 inches for clearance, 10 at the max. And then again, you're just going to measure this because of the divider here. We're going to call this 2 sections. So that's a 28-inch roof locker.
Yeah, and my point talking about height there, I have found that 10 inches is about all that you can get. Now you can put things in a bin that's 10 inches that extend above it, but to get them on your footprint, which is again your depth and length, or your width and length rather, that 10 inches is all that you're going to be able to get there, whether it's a soft-sided bin or hard-sided formed like these that are from iDesign.
Lots of different variations on a theme here. So walk us through this a bit.
Yeah, so going back to my point about roof lockers, you've got here that both those that lift, as in on the left side, the Classic and the Flying Cloud, which are both very straight. But you see in the Globetrotter, that there's a curve, a definite curve there that you do have to take into account. And then down below that, you see the sliding door. So all of the units that have sliding doors only have that track takes up 2 inches. So their footprint has a 13-inch depth.
One of the my journey in my Airstream is waiting for it to come, planning my first trip, probably research as much as I could, had like a corner of the garage dedicated to all the stuff that I bought, waiting for it to come. And then you start to use it and you're like, wow, I have a little bit too much stuff in here. And then you go through the kind of the purge process of like taking the stuff out. So one, it sounds like that life cycle is normal and natural.
Totally. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, I've had a brand new owner of the same model that we have ask me to send everything for every bin. And in that regard, she didn't have to purge because she was just using my expertise and what I had discovered. But it's exactly what Chris and I did in getting into this is, you kind of pack more than you need and you learn over time to condense it and be a little more thoughtful of the use of smaller space.
What's your rule of thumb? And it's a little bit unique here because everyone who's joined us today uses their Airstream in a slightly different way. But if you haven't used an item within X amount of time, what's the threshold that it gets put back?
Yeah. So for example, I just put a hair dryer away because I have a new hair dryer and I thought, oh my gosh, but what if I forget to bring the one on board because I've had one on board, I think. So I tucked it away to let it sit there, I think 3 months tops, a season. And then if you don't use it, then, put it back at home. And if you find you need it, add it back on later. But
Okay.
I do think purging in every aspect of life is helpful.
Agree. Let's get into some real life scenarios here with some tips and tricks for roof locker storage.
Yeah, so roof locker storage, my favorite, that slide that you see on the top left, Eucopia makes this what's called a cookware rack in their line. We've named it something else for Airstream Supply. But number one, it is adjustable. So the tongs that you see can be adjusted to hold plates closer together, farther apart. You can accommodate bowls in that situation as well. But the main key there is to store things vertically rather than horizontally so that you're using all of the height in the roof locker.
And then again here, picking up on this idea that you shared earlier, like I'm looking at that picture on the top and I probably couldn't fit a piece of paper in between some of those bins, right?
Exactly. And that is the whole point, is because if they are all together and aligned, and I selected items that are straighter rather than curved or bowed or not too rounded, and that have very thin profiles so that you can bump them together. I think that's key. And some of those, like the item on the top right, the screen on the right, where you see the utensils, it has little compartments, so the utensils actually stay divided. It's a cutlery bin that can be repurposed for lots of different things.
And what are some things? I know we talk about this when we go to the drawer slide coming up soon, but let's say I have 2 inches of space. What are some of the things I can look to tighten?
Yeah, so with 2 inches of space, that's where you want to maybe cram a one of those fold out dish mat, a drying mat.
Okay.
You can put a stack of paper plates. You can put rolled up dish towels in between, to wedge things. But yeah, I would say as much as you can. You see paper plates in that image on the top left, in between the edge of the rack and the bin next to it. So that's a perfect example.
And will you also, because part of the Airstream experience, I think for most folks is sharing it with other people. And so you have, folks in the kitchen wanting to help and put things away. Will you also go through, I know it's just the two of you in your Globetrotter, will you go through and label, hey, this goes in here? So if there are people, visiting or trying to contribute in the kitchen, they have a sense of where things go?
Yeah, and you I think the kitchen operates so differently when you're parked. For example, we've been here for almost 10 days. So things get to stay out, but when you're putting things away, absolutely to take off for the next day, or you're just stopping, for an overnight somewhere. I think the use of labels, if you have multiple, more than 2 people, is very helpful. But again, just putting things back consistently in the same bin over and over does create some muscle memory about where it belongs. But I love a label maker.
Yeah.
Tracy has never heard me say, "Hey, where is the blank?"
Never.
I'd never say that ever. I'm not guilty of that.
Chris, we share the same name and maybe some of the same experiences. So,
Tracy likes to make fun of me. She has a little meme she does when I start looking for things. Even though the Airstream is extremely organized, inside I struggle a little bit because that's her domain.
Yep.
And likewise for outside with me. It's just how we divide our jobs, and so mine is the inside and his is the outside. So I don't know where to look for things on the outside either.
Well, let's take a look at how to organize and do the baseline measurements for drawers.
And go.
I'm going to show you now how to measure your drawer. I always do width. So for example, this is 14.5 inches. And then we're going to do length. And this is 17 inches. And then we are going to do depth. And this is 5 inches. The important thing about this is to show that you can layer products. So I've got 2 sets of 2.5 inch deep bins here that can rest on top of each other. Gives you twice as much storage.
Yeah, and I want to say that I didn't point out, but I'm measuring inside the frame, which I would think most people would know, but layering and stacking things in a drawer is my all-time favorite. It just gets you so much more bang for the buck. And you see that I actually have empty space in there, and I cook a lot.
Yeah, I even just seeing that brings me a little bit of joy. So,
Me too.
so I'm like, wow, everything just fits, which is great. Some questions relating to the last few slides on the storage lockers. That vertical dish setup that you showed. Any issues with the dishes, crashing against, or the storage locker door, or the overhead locker door, or anything like that?
No, actually, you've still got a little bit of room. They're not going to buy in the Bambi, which does have an 11-inch roof locker. That's going to put your plates right at the very edge. But in a 15-inch deep roof locker, you've still got a gap where the plates actually don't bump against the door. And I will, everybody has their own favorite things, but because you have to hand wash, we use wooden plates. We use that acacia wood, and find it to be very durable, non-breakable, and super easy to travel with. And on Airstream Supply Company, you can find a collection of Ecoba ware, which is bamboo, which is non-breakable as well. So I would advise that in addition. But you can lock the plates down so they're not shifting this way or this way.
Got it. Great. And then just building on this roof locker question, I've read things in forums. I've experienced a little bit of this myself, and I'll blame user error on mine. But having either cabinets open or roof lockers kind of slide open, you touched on this a little bit of saying, hey, make sure everything is in a container or containerized or in a bin. But any other builds to that to keep that from happening while the vehicle's in transit?
Well, that really is the biggest thing, because it's going to contain whatever you put in the bin and prohibit it from hitting the door, the roof locker door. We actually, I hear about this in the 4 years. We've had other horrible things happen, but not that. And we've had an International Serenity with sliding doors, and now we have lift doors. So I haven't found that to be a problem, but I think the answer to that is the bins behind the doors.
Awesome. And just as we're going through, I know that we're spending a lot of time in the travel trailer line, kind of the main travel trailer line. Anything specific that comes to mind for storage ideas in a base camp?
The base camp, all of your kitchen storage is going to be below the countertop. And then they have the roof with the elastic kind of containment. You know, you're going to up there, you're going to have to store soft items, pillows, towels, blankets, and then anything that's going to be breakable, or I mean, your only other storage is down below and underneath. And you know, I have all of those measurements and some ideas of what would fit, but you know, you're going to need a dish pail and a drying rack. You know, your coffee maker would be under there and your mugs.
Awesome. One question here too, since we're still in the kitchen before we move on to other parts of the Airstream. General thoughts, best practices when it comes to, this is a question from Janet. Can you address food storage regarding food items that don't fit in the sliding side drawer in the 23-foot? Ideas on where to put, you know, food, chips, crackers, dry goods, things like that.
I would, in the 23, which we have a good friend that has one, so I've spent a good bit of time and I've outfitted theirs. I would say food items like that, you could use a crate and use your under table floor storage. If you get a crate with a big enough footprint, I find that they don't slide around much. You can kind of tuck it up under the bench seating. In the 23, you've got a good bit of storage in the pantry. You could convert your closet with a drawer system that you could store food in as well. A lot of people convert part of the closet. The 23's got I think it's got a 12-inch closet width. So yeah, I mean, you know, the smaller your rig, the more creative you have to be. But I would also say to decant most things so that you can stack. OXO makes the pop containers. We have those available as well on Airstream Supply, and those are nice because you can stack those in a roof locker.
Yeah, great. So we showed folks in this video here how to measure. So let's go into some tips and tricks on, now that we have our measurements, how should we approach best organizing drawers?
Yeah, so the slide that you saw before was the second drawer in the Globetrotter. So we are lucky enough to have two of the exact same drawer. This is the top one. And again, it's a layering technique. So underneath the cutlery tray are two bins that have lids on them. And the way I use them, and again, there's so many ways to do this, but I don't travel with boxes of foil or rolls of foil or plastic wrap. And I am pretty environmentally conscious about waste. But I use the lidded bins that are under the cutlery tray for sheet foil, so I decant things and put a few Ziploc bags and the necessities underneath there. And you can see there's a space to the right where the cutlery drawer or tray doesn't go all the way over, and that's where you would wedge your salt and pepper and sugar decanter for your coffee, you know, whatever, in little spaces like that to lock everything into that so it doesn't shift.
Great stuff here. Great question from Jed, since we're talking about cutlery. He says, we've seen people put magnetic knife racks on the wall adjacent to the range. Have you tried this? And do the knives stay on the rack when the trailer is in motion?
Yeah, we have friends that we don't have it because we've got the little cutout bins beside our cooktop. I would not tow with your knives out like that. I think it's great for easy access when you're parked. But again, these bins that are underneath that cutlery tray would be great for knives to sit in. It's two bins that are about, they're probably 6 inches in length. And that's just a great way to safely stow knives while you're towing.
Makes sense. Let's zoom out a little bit, still stay in the kitchen, and just talk about some kitchen storage tips.
Yeah, and I mean, utilizing your fridge and freezer with bins so that you don't open it. And Chris has a funny story to chime in about the refrigerator because things do shift.
Yeah, like every time, well, the past two trips, Miss Organizer here, she has everything, all these pictures look great, but the past two times I've opened the refrigerator door, the box of container of lettuce has fallen out on my feet. And I go, hey, Miss Storage Lady, check this out. This is twice. So one more time and the lettuce is out.
Well, and we are fortunate enough to have a really nice big refrigerator in this 30 Globetrotter, and it has glass shelves. So what I can say about things shifting around in the refrigerator is you could use that woven nonstick drawer liner and cut it. A lot of people have the wire ventilated shelves, and things probably don't slip around as much in those as they do on the glass. But again, like the image that you see here of the freezer on the bottom right is things that are flat, like frozen tortilla shells or scallion cakes from Trader Joe's. Anything like a plate that, rather than storing it this way, when you can put it in a bin and kind of categorize it like a filing cabinet, you just get so much more use of space. And then shifting to the next slide over on the bottom left, that is a 6 by 6 by 6 square bin. I could tell you 6 places that you could use that in our unit and so many other units. It's just 2 bottles of wine even fit in it in opposing corners, and then we'll hold other bottles of water or drinks, you know, canned sparkling soda, whatever. Up above, a favorite thing of mine, I love most things that Norwex makes. These are collapsible silicone lidded food storage, but you can heat food in them as well. And then when you're done, you just collapse it and stand it up on its side in a bin in a roof locker. So it just frees up space when you're finished storing your food.
Yeah, those collapsible food containers are awesome. I'm going to order some when we wrap up today because
yeah, you let me know.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you some field feedback.
Yeah.
Most importantly, maybe to some is how to keep some of this stuff cold. So walk us through.
Yeah, and so those bins are 4 to 5 inches wide, and you see that they just perfectly hold the bottles and cans that if you store it any other way, if you didn't put in anything, number one, they're going to be all over the place. But it's just that, and there are so many other things you can put in those. You could put your almond milk or your half and half. Little carton fits in there. And there's an egg container back behind it that has a lid. That's a little partial shelf that we have, and that's where the lettuce sits now that falls on Chris's foot.
Ashley wants to know, what's the brand of these clear storage containers that you're talking about?
Those are all iDesign, which I'm a big fan of that company.
Awesome. And then a question here, Susan says, hey, for shorter folks, is there a medium that can be used to make the roof lockers more reflective so we can see the contents?
That is a challenge, and I've heard that before. You know, some roof lockers have a mirror in them in the back wall so that you can see, but you're losing the advantage to look up and over into it. So again, I think what I would say there is to always put things back in the same place so that you have muscle memory about, you know, what you're putting back in there and reaching out at the same time. But you could get one of those folding little collapsible step stools and then maybe keep it up under the dining table, or, you know, they're narrow, super narrow, but they collapse so that you could stand on it to look in.
Great idea. A couple questions here specific to the refrigerator and containerizing some of the stuff there. Roxanne wants to know, does having the refrigerator boxes cause any sort of airflow problems getting air to cool in the fridge? Any issues there? It sounds like
I have not found, and I do this at home and in the Airstream, and have not found that to be a challenge at all.
Okay.
Personally.
And then one more question before we pop out of the kitchen and go to the bathroom. Marta asks, how do you just general principles in staying organized in the pantry? Theirs looks really heavy. When you open it, it's not straight. You know, what are just some general principles when it comes to pantry storage that people should consider?
I'm assuming she's talking about the pull-out pantry, which we have, because, well, the pantries are pull-out, but there are 2 styles. So ours is a laminate product with solid shelving. then there's the model with the long, narrow, ventilated line metal baskets. So if she's talking about the pull-out kind, again, finding bins that will stack, that have little feet and are stackable, is super handy. I use my canned goods in a bin because they are heavy, and I think that just keeps them from sliding around. The OXO pop containers are perfect for the pull-out pantry. And again, packing it full so that you don't have a big shift, even if your containers are empty.
Good advice. So we've talked a lot about the kitchen. Let's shift gears now and talk about the bathroom and some best practices there.
Yeah, and I love the bin that you see in the middle there because it has partitions and containers to hold little things. It's great for medicine and toiletries. The bins that you see on the top right with the hair dryer, that's that same 6 by 6 by 6. It fits really well under the sink in most bathrooms as well, or a whole collection of them. So they would hold things like bathroom cleaner or any cleaning products that are going to be in your bathroom. The bathroom becomes a catch-all for a lot of people because it kind of, I think there's a good bit of storage there, and it kind of serves as overrun from the kitchen to some degree. So again, having divided containers, and I will say, I think one thing that people can get frustrated about when they are filling their spaces to capacity with bins, you're just going to have to know that, number one, that's the most efficient way. The irritation point is going to be that you sometimes have to move something out to get to something back in there. So I think that just comes with the nature of the beast, and it's just a part of it.
Holly has a question specific to storage in the bathroom. She asks, what do you recommend for the, I'm doing air quotes if you can see me, closet next to the shower?
The closet next to the shower. Well, if you're not using it for hanging items, clothing, which we use ours half for clothing, and we keep stackable, another product called Alpha is in ours that has pull-out drawers. So that's what we do in our closet. I mean, I think, again, using all your vertical height, and that can function as a pantry as well if you need overrun for food items.
Okay, great. Kind of similarly, when we're talking about closets, I know we'll get there, but since we're talking about it now, Nancy wants to know any tips to keep clothes from falling off of the closet rail and hanger while the vehicle is in motion.
We haven't had that happen either. I guess keeping more clothes in there so that they don't bounce up and off of the hanger.
Drop your tire air pressure a little bit and slow down.
I'm a fan of certain kinds of hangers. Maybe her hanger's not biting in the little groove of the bar, and maybe going with a more narrow streamlined hook rather than she might be traveling with a plastic rounded hanger, which is a little thicker and lightweight. So I think having a hanger with a metal hook might work a little better.
Yeah, it's slimmer and seems like it would fit.
Yeah, and then you can fit more clothes. I mean, it's what I do in homeowners' closets and my own all the time.
Smart. All right, let's continue this and walk us through what we see here.
Yeah, and so this is in our 30 Globetrotter, and though you can see that, I mean, how perfect is that? That picture makes me really happy. I love that it's all lined up perfectly. Look how good the lighting is. But you know, those bins clear that space, and they have an open handle, so you can stick your hand in like this to pull the bin out, because you can't go over. There's no room to put your fingers over the top. That's by design. That's to maximize all of your height. This is such a great space for storing. Like, we have a Zip-D drop down awning screen, and it's folded in one of these. I have a picnic, a tablecloth. I keep back inventory of kitchen supplies, you know, rice cooker, things like that in this area.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks perfect.
Yeah.
One question here, specific to pets. I know a lot of people who have joined us today have an Airstream specifically to do this. Any initial thoughts on best locations to stow pet beds or a litter box? Their specific unit is a 20-foot Bambi or Carabelle.
Because I have not spent much time I've been in both the Bambi and the Caravelle and love that unit. Maybe a litter box in the shower floor and pet beds. When you're, I mean, I guess you need that out for the dog. I mean, just that floor space is a challenge. I know. I would say under the dining table, if you can do that, would be a great place for a pet bed.
Yep, I've seen a lot of folks put them there as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to the bedroom.
Yeah, and just simply here, you cannot, it's interesting, the top right slide, that is, we have twin beds. And so we took the doors and the hinges off. It allows, it's much easier to pull a bin out without that door hanging down there. And surprisingly, you cannot tell that our doors are removed from the galley if you look down the hallway to our bedroom. You would think you could, but we have a wool comforter with a duvet on it that hangs down partially over that. But to me, this is how we use that space. Shoes can be stacked tall, or you can put them on their end this way, and workout gear. And then again, another Alpha product on the bottom left screen that's for Chris's storage. And they are 21 inches deep, and you can get a lot of clothes in there. And rolling your clothes and standing them upright is another way to utilize more of your space in a bin.
Good advice there. What Ashley wants to know on the previous slide, those frosted bins that fit ever so perfectly. In the galley, what was the brand of those?
Those are iDesign, and they're on Airstream Supply Company as well.
Awesome. Quick pause here, just in terms of specific vehicle guidance and counsel. Any specific solutions or suggestions for storage in an Atlas?
Yeah, well, the Atlas has, I've been in and tricked out a Travato, so I can speak to being in that. You've got about 9 inches worth of length in your roof lockers. And again, lining up bins in those roof lockers, especially over the bedroom area, and using a stacking system in the closet that takes crates to go up, crates that you can slide clothing items into. Any way that you can utilize the vertical height in the Atlas is helpful. But I think bins that match your length and width, and line them up and store things stacked as much as you can on their ends, including rolled clothes, jeans and pants and shorts and everything that you can put this way, so that you pull the bin out, look in over it, and then put it back. So you're not having to pull everything out to get to what's on the bottom.
And it would be a shame to talk about clothes and not talk about a hamper and where to put the dirty clothes.
Yeah, the hamper. So for the image that you see in the top right on this slide, we actually have one of those collapsible fabric hampers that fits in place of 2 of the bins that you see there. Okay. So that's how we do. But a lot of bedrooms, like if you have for example, I have a client that has a 30 bunk Flying Cloud, and the bedroom with the queen has plenty of floor space for a stand-up hamper. And there's a great style that is heavy felt that has a handle on it and will sit, you want kind of a wider bottom platform so that it sits upright and doesn't tip over when you're towing. So, not a narrow base, but a wider base. The back of the twin beds, Austin, has a space that's either this wide or almost 12 inches wide, and a basket can fit there as well, but you need a tall basket.
Let's talk and switch gears and talk about taking advantage of the vertical surfaces within an Airstream.
Yeah, we just love, the profile on these hooks is narrow to fit over a narrow door, rather than like in your home, which would need a wider footprint. But yeah, anything that you can, I mean, we always have hats. This allows you to hang an extra towel, you know, drying. And I keep those great silicone hooks that have the crank down notch in the shower for when we walk into the unit with wet raincoats. That's where they go to dry.
Awesome. So for the folks who who own an Airstream travel trailer, there's this whole often untapped world of the tow vehicle, and what can be accomplished there. We've done Ask an Airstreamers where people are working from the road and actually use this as a kind of a separate office. So talk us a little bit, Chris, about kind of your approach and what are some best practices to staying
Sure.
organized?
Yeah. So as we've made different iterations with different tow vehicles and different configurations, we started with just the pickup truck, open bed. We went to the covered bed with the flap, you know, fold down, keeping everything dry. And we've got stuff that goes on the camper and the truck and vice versa. And so, you know, we just recently put a camper top on the Denali in a roof basket. And so we basically have 3 levels that we can utilize that vertical space, but just kind of simplified things. You know, the truck and the tow vehicle really just brings the lifestyle to the Airstream. So the things that we carry, you can see here inside of the truck bed. You know, it's things that we do our activities with, our cooking, generator if we're on a long haul, our camp chef, our fire pit, you know. And so you can see in that picture on the right, I've had a couple aluminum shelves made to go on the slide out. When we put the camper top on, I had the cargo glide to install, put that in, and you can pull everything out. You can access it really easy. So as we've gone through this process, we've carried way too many things to the wrong place. And so we're slowly narrowing that down. And right now with the use of 3 Zargus boxes and 1 shelf, not 2, I've got open space. I've got plenty of room in the truck. And, you know, we're just okay, everything on the truck is supporting the lifestyle, supporting the fun. And then so we moved to the, to the Airstream. The Airstream keeps everything that secures it at the campsite and plugs it up, if you will. So just kind of broken it into 2 different parts.
And he meant the outside storage on the Airstream.
Yeah, the outside storage. Yeah.
Which is a
perfect
segue to the next slide, which is outside storage.
Yeah. So when we travel, Tracy locks everything down on the inside, and I'll lock everything down on the outside. It works really well, and it's really confusing to me when she's not along and I have to do both, and I get schooled on that. But the outside, I've just sort of broken it down. You know, the road side or the driver's side, I've got everything in that bin. When I back in, we can level it. All the stuff is right there. We can hook it up. The connections for the cords, whichever amperage we have. And then on the curbside, you know, we have the tire service kit. I've got a whole kit put together. If we have a flat, it's a non-event. We can just lift the tire, pull it off. I've got everything that's needed for that. We had a shelf made for, I think it's in the next slide, but we had a shelf made for the top of the LP tanks to keep the X chocks. I have a leverage bar. There you go. We have a leverage bar that we use to connect the distribution with. So, and you can see me there in the video. I've got the boxes. I've got 2 toolboxes. I've got one for fasteners, and then I have one for, you know, screwdrivers and pliers and hammers and all that stuff. So they fit really nice and neat there. They don't move around. And so that bin is just nothing but, you know, tools and to work on the unit, whatever we need to do. You can see in the left side, we have the camp chef in the big Zargus box, and then there's so much room in there. We put a lot of other things on top of that, seal it up. So when we pull that rig out to cook, it's all together. It's all right there.
Cooking tools and the pizza peels and all of that go in there.
Yeah.
And it protects the grill from humidity.
I love the LP storage tank cover. Right, those are odd shaped chocks there. So what a great use of that space. Continue the theme of like, hey, pack containerized and fill every space.
Yeah, just, and I think we're going to make an iteration here with the X jocks. We're going to put some dampening materials in there, some tool liners, and create some more padding in there. Still kind of evolving. I've seen a bunch of people online doing different things up there, but it's a great space to put things that you're consistently going back to. So everything has a space, and our loadout at home is the same way. I have one shelf. Everything is right there, so I don't have to really think about it. And a good friend of ours that travels with us, he taught me this. He was like, I got everything here together, keep all the emotional energy in these boxes. So when it's time to go, you just back the truck up, you put the stuff in there, and you guarantee that everything is there. And it makes loading up so much easier and so much less stressful. You have what you need.
Yeah, that's I can't tell you how many times I was supposed to leave at noon, but doing this last minute run through the garage to make sure you got everything, and we didn't leave at noon. I'll leave it at that. But what are some of the must-haves when you look at the tools that we have at our disposal? Walk us through some of the things on this slide.
Well, I'm not a young man anymore, Chris, and so the cargo glide was a really cool thing. And there's a bunch of different manufacturers of that, but just not having to climb up in a truck bed anymore, get everything out is it's a game changer. And the boxes, the Zagros boxes are they're top of the line. I mean, it's an investment in the storage, and I've used the rubber, and I've used the clear, I've used a little bit of everything. And these things stack, they ride secure. And it's less is more. And so by doing that, it's created more space in the back of that cargo glide. Bungee cords, using the sides of the inside of the truck bed, using the hooks, like I have on the right side, I have my Camp Chef aluminum table is bungee to the inside of the bed. We carry a dog trailer for cycling. We let pull the dogs with us. I have a place where all that's pinned to the side of the truck, because it's occasional use. Keeps it out of the way. So, it's simple stuff.
I love it. And Traci, I can't see your shirt right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it had the phrase "everything has a place."
That's right. Everything does have a place. Yeah. And, we have, these are some of our favorite things. And the RV snap pad you see in the center, the Coba board with our cute little dog named Aluminum is sitting there. And it stores at the end of one of our twin beds. The molecule is great for just keeping pollen and seasonal allergies at bay. And of course, I love my Stone Pony pottery. Shout out to her. Zargus boxes and the Camp Chef. We love all their products. It is such a quality made item. And Blackstone is great as well. It's another one that you see often. But this is a pizza oven on top of the grill, which makes for fun.
Yeah,
it does a great job with bagels too. We had a bagel breakfast not long ago, and that was fun. We never done that before, but really cool.
Awesome. And just a quick disclaimer on this slide. I know that these are your favorite things. There no commercial relationship here. Not trying to create an affiliate type program, but just wanted to share some of the things that you guys really enjoy in your time on the road. So we have a lot of questions. We're going to bounce around a little bit in terms of different pieces that we've talked about today. First, we'll start with Pamela. Just had a great idea. She says, "Hey, I was just thinking, if you take the doors off of the bedroom storage, would you ever consider using peel and stick wallpaper on the outside of the bins to hide everything and look neat?" So
yeah, you could, but then you don't know what, if you're a visual person, or if it needs to be hidden, maybe your bedding doesn't hide it the way ours does. And that's a great idea.
Anna, just a quick follow-up here. I think the answer is Camp Chef, but in terms of the grill that you guys enjoy the most, I have a Camp Chef grill. Love it, love it, love it. Same for you in terms of that brand.
Yep.
And then question here in terms of the brand that you called out with those narrow hooks to hang things. Who makes those?
Oh, that is an Amazon product. If she'll shoot us an email, I'll find that. But it is, but you don't want one that is for a household door, because it would just
Be too
fall off. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Carissa wants to know what's the name of the company that makes the bike rack to go on the back of an Airstream, and that's Fiamma.
Yama. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
have one and love it.
Awesome, perfect. Real quick, where can they buy the mugs? What was the name of that brand?
Oh, Stone Pony Pottery. She's in Wisconsin. And if you shoot me a note there, I'll share the link.
Okay, perfect.
And I did, before I forget, I wanted to add a love for everybody listening. If you're not following us on Instagram, we've got 2 handles, Spatial Solutions Unlimited and Buzz Adventures Airstreaming.
Awesome. Marina wants to know what's the best way to store cutting boards and 1/4-inch sheet pans.
If you're cutting board, I believe in carrying a thin one, again, less weight, and it will stay sideways better. I keep mine in my plate rack.
Ah, okay.
Same
Smart.
with my pots and my few cooking. You just have limited amount of space and you only have 3 burners and you can't fit 3 things on all 3 burners at one time. Not that I have found, but yeah, but again, storing cookware vertically as well in a plate rack. The Utopia item is wonderful.
Smart.
Hey, Chris, I'd just like to say, I'm getting to see some of the questions popping up here, and I can't wait to see the feedback because, you know, this conversation stimulates a lot of other ideas, and there's so much synergy in the Airstream world. I hope people are sharing what they're doing as well, because there's not one thing that fits everything. So can't wait to see the results of these questions.
Yeah, the chat is really active with folks sharing some of their own experience, which is awesome.
That's fantastic.
Lisa says she has a 30-foot Classic. Do you have any ideas for shoe storage near the door for easy access? We take all our shoes off when we come inside. We bring our son and dogs in with us. It's a tripping issue and just messy kind of piling.
It is all of that, yes. I hear you, Lisa. I would use one of the Zargus boxes, and you can connect with me on which one. It actually allows for the height of it, allows for the door to swing open across it. You keeping your shoes outside and storing them like toe down, rather than stacking all the shoes this way. It's just a great way to keep shoes and to keep them dry. And you can sit on it, stand on it, use it as a bench outside. The other thing is that you can hang 2 sections of a shoe cubby and cut it and put it on the lower part of your screen door with zip ties. That's what we do. But that only holds, it's not good if your husband's feet are size 13 shoes, because then the shoes tip out. But my size 9s, women's shoes seem to do fine in there. And you want to keep your lighter weight shoes on that door so as not to harm the door. So that's 2 other areas that you could use.
Excellent. And that applies not just to the Classic really, but
right. Every Airstream. Yeah.
All the things. Well, John wants to know what's the brand of the air filter, the air purifier that you highlighted on the one.
That is Molecule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. One question from Alan in terms of, we're loading all the stuff in the tow vehicle and the Airstream. How do you guys make sure that you're towing safely in terms of weighing everything and ensuring that you're not exceeding the weight? Do you take it to one of those big cat scales on the side of the road and do that?
Oh yeah. I'd love to do that. We love to get the split measurements on everything, and so yeah, we've over time we've gotten better and better. Just carrying too much is a big problem, and we've overloaded. Got too many things in the truck. But now it's super simple. 3 boxes come out, or 2 boxes come out. That's pretty much it. Everything else stays. Pull the fire pit out. We're ready to camp. Until we're ready to do an activity. So yeah, it's the boxes weigh 10 pounds. And they stack, so it works out well.
That's great. Rick and Lori want to know any suggestion for rugs, and this might be a little bit out of scope of organizing, but seasoned Airstreamers, any suggestions for rugs that are easy to clean, kind of protect the floor, look great?
Well, our floor has some beautiful rugs from Zuma Imports, which are light enough weight to take them out. They're Turkish. You can shake them, spot clean them. Ruggable is something that people in this world use a lot. I don't have personal experience with that. I think if it, is lightweight and can be cleaned, those are two big points. A lot of people travel with vacuum cleaners. I don't, because I love to do yoga-ish poses with my broom, my hand broom and dust pan. It's like a workout.
Nancy wants to know if you can use the 3M, I'm going to just assume here, but the 3M command strips, can you use those on the aluminum? Have you had any?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They can also, if you clean your aluminum with alcohol, iDesign makes an awesome stainless steel toothbrush holder that we use to keep our sunglasses in by the front door, hanging on the aluminum.
Brilliant. And final question here before we wrap up. Ken wants to know, for any exterior rugs that you might have, where are those stored?
They're all stored in the mud box, and so we just roll them up. We actually have three. We have a brush, and we have the rubber nubbies, and then we have of course you got to have the obligatory Airstream dry rug that let you know that this is an Airstream, because
Right.
It's hard to tell the difference between an Airstream and other brands.
Right.
And then we have the big camping rug that we fold and put in a sleeve, and it goes in under our twin beds, and the rear is our biggest outside storage box, but you could travel with that in your truck.
Awesome. So I just popped up the promo code for Airstream Supply Company. Traci, Chris, I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your time with us today. And if we didn't have a chance to answer your questions, please do send us an email. Email address is hello@airstream.com, HELLO@airstream.com. And thanks again to everyone for spending part of your day with us. And please take a moment to give us your feedback in the email that we'll send out later.